So it just says that it is not that India did not know what democracy is. India knows very well what democracy is because it has been experiencing democratic rule, but not dictatorial rule or something like that. Maybe for some years that we have been there, but India was being ruled in a democratic setup. There was a time when India was studied with republics, and even where there were monarchies, they were either elected or limited. So once upon a time, it was studied it was fully with republics, and sometimes there were monarchies, but they were either elected or limited. They were never absolute. So it's not that they were the one and the only, they were never absolute. It is not that India did not know parliaments or parliamentary procedure. So it is not that India did not know parliament or parliamentary procedure. India knew very well what is parliament, what is parliamentary procedure. A study of the Buddhist bhikshus sanghas discloses that not only were these parliaments, but the sanghas were nothing but parliaments. The sanghas knew and observed all the rules of parliamentary procedure known to modern times. So the Buddhism which was rampant at that time, which was prevalent everywhere, so they happened to disclose that they happen to always follow the parliamentary procedure. It's not that they were not following the parliamentary procedure. The study of Buddhist Bhikshu Sanghas discloses that not only they were parliaments, but the Sanghas knew and observed all the rules of parliamentary procedure known to modern times. So the parliamentary procedures known to the modern times were observed by the Sanghas. Although these rules of parliamentary procedure were applied by a Buddha to the meetings of the Sanghas, he must have borrowed them from the rules of the political assemblies functioning in the country in his time. So he must have borrowed the function. So we see that they used to follow the parliamentary procedure in such a excellent manner that it was not, never was it away from such procedures. He must have borrowed them from the rules of the political assemblies functioning in the country in his time. So in his time, whatever functioning in the country was going on, he must have borrowed from that. This democratic system India lost. Will she lose it a second time? I do not know. But it is quite possible in a country like India, where democracy from its long disuse must be regarded as something quite new. There is a danger of democracy giving place to dictatorship. So, will India lose the democratic system for a second time? He says it is quite possible in a country like India, wherein there are varied elements, diverse elements, different languages. Its long disuse must be regarded as something quite new. The danger of democracy is giving place to dictatorship. The democracy is giving place to dictatorship. So the dangerous misuse, or for that matter, you can say that the democracy, long disuse of democracy obviously leads to giving place to dictatorship. If democracy is disused, or for that matter misused, it's quite obvious that dictatorship comes in vogue. It's quite possible for this newborn democracy to retain its form but give place to dictatorship in fact. So the newborn democracy will retain its form and also it may give place to the dictatorship. We cannot say. So if there is a landslide, the danger of the second possibility becoming an actuality is much greater. So if at all there is a landslide, if at all there is a kind of landslide movement going on in a different manner, then there is a danger of second possibility becoming an actuality much greater. So the second possibility becoming an actuality that becomes much greater. If we wish to maintain democracy not merely in form but also in fact, what must we do? The first thing in my judgment we must do is to hold fast to constitutional methods of achieving our social and economic objectives. Let us hold fast to our economic and social objectives. Let us, if at all we want to avoid dictatorship in our country, if at all we want to see that democracy sustains in our country, then we will have to, the first thing is that we must what we must do is to hold fast to constitutional methods. We must hold very fast to constitutional methods. and we should not deviate from the constitutional methods of achieving our social and economic objectives. It means we must abandon the bloody methods of revolution. We should always avoid the bloody methods of revolution. It means that we must abandon the method of civil disobedience. We should not, we should always leave the method of civil disobedience. There should not be disobedience. Civil disobedience should not be there. It's not always right. Non-cooperation and satyagraha. So non-cooperation as well as satyagraha, all these not really will give us the needed fruits. So here we understand that to some extent Ambedkar disagrees with the approach of Mahatma Gandhi. When there was no way left for constitutional methods for achieving economic and social objectives, there was a great deal of justification for unconstitutional methods. Now that India has got, that is then at that time when Ambedkar has written, that India has got the constitution, let us not worry how to achieve our social objectives. We should try to achieve our social objectives only through our constitution, but not through other unconstitutional methods. So he says that if we go on with satyagraha, civil disobedience, all these, that should not happen right after at least India gets its own constitution. So let us see what is there in constitution. Let us follow what is there in constitution, and then achieve the social objectives. These methods are nothing but the grammar of anarchy, and the sooner they are abandoned, the better for us. So these are all the grammar of anarchy, and the sooner they are abandoned, the better for us. So earlier during the British rule, if we have followed the satyagraha and all this, that's different. In order to press upon them, in order to make them know the importance of all these, that's fine. Now that India has got its own constitution, let it not be like that. These methods are nothing but the grammar of anarchy, and the sooner they are abandoned, the better for us. If at all they are abandoned sooner, then surely that is better for us. So for this newborn democracy, to retain its former replaced dictatorship, there is a landslide. So we see that satyagraha and all these are considered to be the grammar of anarchy. Sooner they are abandoned, the better for us. The second thing we must do is observe the caution which John Stuart Mill has given to all who are interested in the maintenance of democracy, namely, not to lay their liberties at the feet of even great man or to trust him with power, which enables him to subvert their institutions. Now, you should understand this very carefully. No, he says that the very first thing is we should not approach the unconstitutional methods. And the next thing is we should never go on in the name of maintaining the democracy to put our liberties at the feet of even great men or to trust him with power which enables them to support their institutions. Let us not trust a single person and go with the hero of ship. Let us not trust a great man to such an extent and give him such power that it enables him to subvert their institutions. Let it not be enabled to subvert the institutions. There is nothing wrong in being grateful to great men who have rendered the lifelong services to the country. Who have rendered lifelong services to the country. There is nothing wrong in being grateful to great men who have rendered lifelong services. So we see that we should be grateful to great men. We should be really grateful to great men who have rendered lifelong services to the country. They have rendered lifelong services to the country. Fine. We should be really grateful to them. We should be very thankful to them. But there are limits to gratefulness. This caution is far more necessary in the case of India than in any than in the case of any other country. And he says just because a person has reading his life, reading his services to the country, we should not be in such a way that we should not be grateful to such an extent that we should we cross the limits of gratefulness. This caution is very, very necessary for a country like India because for an it's not for any other country, but especially for India, which is a voluminous and highly populated country, and at the same time with diverse languages and diverse cultures. So let us not have such kind of hero worship. It plays a part. Bhakti, or what may be called the path of devotion or hero worship, plays a part in its politics, unequaled in magnitude by the part it plays in politics of any other country in the world. Bhakti is something which is of much prominence in a country like India. And it may be called the path of devotion or hero worship. It plays a part in its politics, unequaled in magnitude. You know it very well. How in India it plays an important role, and it is unequaled in magnitude by the part it plays in the politics of any other country. So, how it plays in politics of any other country in the world? Bhakti in religion may be a road to salvation of the soul. So, bhakti in the religion may be a road to salvation in the soul. But in politics, bhakti or hero worship is a sure road to degradation and eventual dictatorship. So, when it comes to religion, it might be something which is very, very important. It is a means for achieving moksha, that is salvation. But in politics, bhakti or hero worship is a sure road to degradation and eventual dictatorship. So, but when it comes to politics, let us not depend solely on bhakti because it is a basis for degradation and also it is a basis for eventual dictatorship. Because when majority of people go in for one particular thing, the religion, so naturally they grow and try to suppress the other ways and means, and that will eventually lead to dictatorship. So that will naturally lead to dictatorship. So Ambedkar fervently appeals to everyone that let us not try to follow the unconstitutional methods when India has got a very good constitution being formed. So let us not have such kind of thought in the mind. We should always go towards the constitution. We should not deviate from the constitution. Okay, we'll continue the lesson in the next class.